You know that moment when your wife says something? Maybe it's about the kids, maybe it's about the way you handled a conversation, or maybe it's something you forgot to do, and it hits you like an arrow. And before you can even think, you're reacting. Maybe you get defensive or you shut down. Maybe you spiral into shame or not enoughness, or maybe you fire back and the whole thing turns into an argument. And that little moment lasts for hours, even days. Well, that's what happens when you don't have boundaries. And I'm not talking about the typical definition of boundaries, the draw the line in the sand, tell people what they can't do kind of thing. That's not what I mean here. I'm talking about internal boundaries, the kind that let you know where you end and the world begins. Without them, you have only two choices. You're either too thin-skinned and everything cuts you open, every tone, every criticism, every look, or you're walled off where nothing gets through. You're untouchable, but you're also unreachable. Neither one works, and your marriage pays the price. Today, I'm going to show you how to build healthy internal boundaries that let you stay open to your wife without being overrun, that help you stop reacting in the heat of the moment, that keep you from shutting down and pulling away, and that give you the steadiness to actually respond with love and clarity. Because when you know how to hold yourself like this, your wife feels safer bringing things to you without fear that you'll blow up or run away. You'll feel more in control of yourself, and the two of you can actually work through hard moments without them turning into explosions or into silence. If you struggle with reactivity, whether it's shutting down or fighting back when something she says sets you off, then stick around. You don't want to miss this one. Welcome to Better Husband, the podcast that helps you answer the question, how can I be a better husband? I'm Angelo Santiago, a men's marriage and relationship coach, and every week I bring you practical insights to help you strengthen your marriage and become the best husband you can be. Let me tell you why the topic of boundaries is so important to me and why it's something I share with all the men that I work with. Years ago, before I really understood this whole idea of boundaries, every time my wife brought up a concern or something she was worried about, I felt like it was a personal attack. If she said something about my parenting or how I was handling stress, it didn't feel like supportive feedback. It felt like a dagger to the chest. No matter how well and lovingly she said it, it always felt like an attack. And because I didn't have boundaries, I only had two modes. Mode one, thin-skinned, everything got in, I got reactive, defensive, maybe even snap back. Or mode two, walled off, I'd shut down, go silent, put up a wall so high that nothing could touch me. Both of those moves failed her and our marriage. When I was thin-skinned, I was unpredictable, walking around like a raw nerve. When I was walled off, I was cold and unreachable. Neither one created safety, neither one built connection. And that's also what I see in most of the men that I work with. You either take it all in and overreact, or you shut it all out and disappear. And if you're like me or the guys I coach, here's what I want you to know. What your marriage actually needs from you is a third option, a way of staying open, listening, and still protecting yourself at the same time. That's what healthy boundaries make possible. They're what let you stand steady in the middle of a tough moment without collapsing or disappearing. Like I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, boundaries aren't something you draw on the floor and scream out, "You shall not pass." They're not about keeping people away from you. Everything I'm sharing with you, I've learned from family therapist Terry Real and his work in relational life therapy, also known as RLT, and he credits his mentor, Pia Melody, for this work. So if you're interested in learning about the origins of all of this, check them out. What I want you to first realize is that a boundary is like the skin of your psyche. It's the thing that lets you know where you end and the world begins. And just like skin, it has two sides. On the inside, it contains you, so your energy doesn't spill out all over the place. And on the outside, it protects you, so you don't take in every word, every mood, every criticism like an arrow straight to the heart. When you don't have healthy boundaries, you lose both of those protections, and you end up in one of two extremes. The first, like I mentioned, is being thin-skinned. Everything that gets said, everything that gets thrown your way, criticism, frustration, even a tone of voice goes straight in like an arrow. You absorb it all. The outside of your boundary isn't protecting you. And once it's inside, it feels personal, it feels true, and you can't help but react. That's when you snap or defend yourself or spiral into shame. That's the inside of your boundary not containing you. Your energy spills out all over the place. The second extreme is being walled off. You build a fortress around yourself. Nothing gets in. The outside of your boundary is sealed so tight that you stop letting in anything, even the good stuff. You harden up, you tell yourself you don't care, and you sit behind that wall thinking you're safe. But the inside of your boundary isn't working either. You're not sharing your real thoughts, your feelings, your cares. Everything stays locked in. You're protected, but you're not connected. You're cold, distant, and unreachable. Neither one works in a marriage. If you're thin-skinned, your wife feels like she has to walk on eggshells. If you're walled off, she feels like she's talking to a brick wall. Healthy boundaries are the third option. They let you be connected and protected at the same time. You can take in what's useful without being run over by what's not. You can sort through it, decide what's true for you, and let the rest stay outside. That's the strength boundaries give you. The ability to stay steady in the middle of the heat, and when you stay steady, she feels it. You make it safer for her to keep coming towards you instead of pulling away. Because here's where a lot of men get it wrong. Most men hear the word boundaries and they think toughness. Don't let it get to you. Don't let her see it hurts. Keep your poker face. And that's not a boundary. That's a wall. I know this because I used to live there. I thought being strong meant nothing could touch me. If she was upset, if she came with me with frustration, my quote unquote strength was to shut down, to go silent, to give her nothing, not let it get to me, not react or start a fight. I thought I was in control of how I handled things, but it wasn't control. It was distance. And distance isn't what your marriage needs from you. Toughness without openness is just avoidance. It's hiding. It's protecting yourself at the cost of connection. Real boundaries are about staying open without being fragile. They're about being able to hear her without collapsing, being able to care without being consumed. Think about it this way. If you're actually steady, if you actually know how to hold yourself, you don't need to shut her out to survive the moment. You can stay present. You can listen. You can even disagree without turning it into a war. That's real strength, and that's being relational. That's how you become a better husband. Not with a wall, not with cold silence, but with the ability to hold both connected and protected at the same time. So how do you actually build these boundaries? Well, that's what we're going to talk about next. I want to take a quick break to tell you that I have a brand new workshop available and it's totally free. If you've been listening to this podcast and you're ready to go deeper, I want you to check out my training, The 3 Secrets to Becoming a Better Husband Without Endless Therapy, Hating the Process, or Pretending to be Someone You're Not. Inside, I walk you through 3 key shifts that changed everything for me in my marriage and for the men who have used this to lead more connected, intimate, and grounded relationships. You can watch it now at betterhusbandsecrets.com, and like I said, it's totally free. It's the clearest breakdown I've ever shared of what actually changes a marriage from the inside out. So if you're ready to really do this work, go to betterhusbandsecrets.com or click the link in the show notes. Now, back to the show. If you want to really develop strong internal boundaries, it's not enough to just nod your head and say, okay, I'll try and be less reactive. You actually need a practice, a way to train your nervous system to hold steady. And here's one I learned in RLT and I use with men all the time. I'm going to invite you to try this practice with me. If you're in the middle of doing something else while listening, take a short break if you can. If not, listen and follow along and commit to coming back to this section when you have the time. Doing this is actually putting in the work. It's not just learning about it. You have to be about it. So let's do it. Take a moment and close your eyes if you can, and take a few deep breaths. Now, picture yourself in a place where you feel good, maybe even great, relaxed, joyful, peaceful, strong. Maybe it's sitting on the beach with the waves rolling in. Maybe it's a mountain cabin with a fire going, or maybe it's just your living room on a quiet night. Wherever it is, let yourself really feel it. See the sights, hear the sounds, feel the warmth of being there. Now, once you've got that feeling in your body, let the picture of the place fade away. Drop the scene, but keep the feeling. Hold on to the calm, the ease, the steadiness. Then wrap that feeling around you like a circle, 360 degrees. And now imagine it as a boundary, a glass dome, a force field, whatever comes to mind. The only rule is this: nothing gets in unless you choose to let it in. That's your boundary. Once you've built your boundary, here's how it works in real time. When something gets said, criticism, frustration, even praise, it hits the outside of your boundary first, and then you decide what to do with it. You ask yourself, is this true? If it is, or part of it is, you relax your boundary and let it in. If it's not, it stays on the outside, it bounces off your boundary, and you let it fall away. And if you're not sure, you sit with it. You consider it deeply before you decide. Here's a non-marriage example to show you that having healthy boundaries applies to all parts of your life. Let's say someone at work says to you, hey, that presentation was terrible. You were so boring. Without boundaries, that goes straight in like a dart. You feel exposed, ashamed, and you either get defensive or shut down. Or maybe that little comment sticks with you for the rest of the day, and you bring that frustration or anger home with you, and it leaks out everywhere. But with boundaries, it hits the outside first, and you ask, is this true? And maybe part of it is. Maybe you rush through your slides. You can take that in and use it. But maybe the rest isn't true. Maybe they were distracted or had their own agenda. You can let that fall away. And if you're not sure, you can sit with it. You can get more feedback, or you can decide later. That's what a healthy boundary does. It gives you the space to sort instead of just react. You're not at the mercy of every word or every move. You get to become the judge of what gets in and what doesn't. And when you carry the image of that boundary and the feeling it's protecting within you, something different can happen. Inside that boundary, you can relax. You don't have to armor up. You don't have to shut down. You're already protected. And because you're protected, you can also stay open, curious, and connected. I'll be honest, at first it feels awkward, almost silly, but over time, day after day, it becomes second nature. And when your wife comes to you with something that in the past has been challenging for you, you don't have to react. You don't have to hide. You can stand steady inside that boundary, sift through what's true, and let the rest bounce off. That's the practice. So let's bring this down into the moments that actually happen in your marriage. Your wife says, I don't like the way you handled that with the kids. Without boundaries, it goes straight in. You feel attacked. You get defensive. What do you mean? You weren't even there. Now you're in a fight about who's right instead of what's really going on. Or you go in the other direction. You wall off. You shut down. You give her the silent treatment, and she feels like she's talking to a brick wall. But if you've built healthy boundaries, you've got a third option. You hear what she's saying, you sift it, you decide what's true, and you let the rest stay outside. Maybe you even say, I hear you, let me think about how I handled that and what could have been different. You don't have to collapse, and you don't have to fight. Here's another example. She comes home stressed, and her tone is sharp, not necessarily because of you or at you, but because she's had a tough day. We've all been there. Without boundaries, you either snap back or you withdraw. But with boundaries, you can think, this is about her day, not about my worth. You stay steady, you stay connected, you don't let her energy run through you. And the beauty of being relational and caring about her is that you're able to help her take a few breaths, release some of her stress in healthy ways, and support her through it. That's the whole point. Boundaries don't make you cold, and they don't make you passive. They give you the strength to respond instead of react. They let you stay present without getting overrun. And when you can do that, even in one hard moment, your wife will feel it. She feels safer. She feels like she can actually bring herself to you without paying the price of your defensiveness or your distance. And that's the difference boundaries make in real time. Here's how you can put what you've learned in this episode into practice right now. First, notice your default. Think back to the last conflict you had. Did you get thin-skinned and reactive, or did you wall off and disappear? Write it down if you can. Number 2, practice the visualization once a day. Close your eyes, imagine that safe place, experience the feeling of being there, drop the scene, keep the feeling, and build your boundary around you. Get used to what it feels like to be both relaxed and protected. Number 3, test it in one real moment this week. So when the tension shows up, and maybe it's her tone or her frustration or even just her gentle feedback, pause. Remember your boundary. Ask yourself, what's true here and what isn't mine to carry? And 4, debrief afterward. After that moment, check in with yourself. How did it go differently? What shifted in you? What shifted between the two of you? These small reps are how you build the muscle of staying connected and protected at the same time. Here are a few reflection questions you can answer to check in with yourself on where you're at and where you want to be. Take a few moments this week to sit with these. You don't need to overthink them, just be honest. Here they are. When was the last time I got reactive because I took everything in? Did I get defensive? Did I make it about me instead of hearing her? Where do I tend to wall off or disconnect instead of staying engaged? Do I go silent, retreat to work, or avoid the conversation completely? What would shift in my marriage if I could be both connected and protected? How would she feel? How would I feel? The point of these questions is to bring things into focus so you can see where you are and where you want to go. Here's my closing takeaway from this episode. You don't need to armor up to protect yourself in your marriage. That only creates distance. Real strength is knowing how to hold yourself steady. It's learning to build healthy internal boundaries that let you stay open without being overrun. Because when you can be both connected and protected, you stop reacting, you stop disappearing, and you start showing up steady in the moments that build strong marriages. If you're interested in doing more of this work, this is exactly the type of practice we focus on inside Better Husband Academy. Join me and the other men on the journey of becoming better husbands. You don't have to figure it out alone. If you're ready to take the next steps, check out betterhusbandacademy.com. I want to close with saying thank you for listening and supporting the podcast. I hope this episode has been helpful. And if you have any questions or feedback, reach out to me. You can find my contact information in the show notes. I'm Angelo Santiago. Thanks for sticking with me until the end. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much for listening. Before you go, I have a quick request. If you've ever gotten any value from the show and you want the show to continue to grow, to access bigger and more knowledgeable guests, and to keep providing you with more ways that you can be a better husband in your marriage, simply leave a rating and a review if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. It only takes a few seconds, and those reviews go a long way in attracting more experts and bigger guests to the show. So if you're feeling up to it, as a favor to me, I'd love to see a rating and a review from you. Thank you so much for being a listener and all your support.